What an asshole!
Podcasting from Basshole Studios in Hollywood, California.
Yo, what time is it?
You're listening to I'm a Basshole with Doug Bass. We've all been one.
He's an asshole.
So let's laugh about it. Now, here's your host, Doug Bass.
Hey everyone, welcome to I'm a Basshole. My name's Doug Bass. This is the podcast where we have guests come on and they talk about a time that they were an asshole. That's right, you know it, you love it. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast fix. Don't forget the YouTube channel at Doug Bass Comedy, where you can get the full video experience of the podcast. We got a good show today. We have our guest today is comedian, producer, Keida Mascaro. We have him here. We're going to talk about our Bourbon Room shows coming up. Keida, how are you, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, sorry. I just forgot to unmute you. How are you? There you go.
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good.
Actually, I'm not great. I'm like fucking nervous as hell.
You're nervous what, being on the podcast?
No.
Oh, no.
It's fucking ticket sales.
You're nervous about the show. Okay, yes. So for those of you that don't know, Keida is my co-producing partner on our upcoming Bourbon Room comedy show night, where we have Wax Poetics, which is a regular stand-up comedy show, traditional style, starting off the night. And then followed by this show, I'm a Basshole, with Doug Bass, which is the live stage show version that we're going to do. And we're doing it for the first time at the Bourbon Room Hollywood. So, yeah, we both are nervous about doing it, right?
Yeah,
We're kind of like, what did we get ourselves into? Almost,
we're probably gonna be homeless in a couple weeks.
Oh, no, don't say that. Well, I mean, this is the town to be homeless in if we're going to be homeless.
I mean, we're going into the right season for that.
Right? Yeah. Summer's here and it'll be fine. I mean, we should just save enough in the budget for a tent. But we'll go on big enough. That way we can just be roommates at that point. Well, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, this is the first time you're coming on the podcast. Yeah, this is where, we have people come on and they talk about a time that they were an asshole. We can get into that in a little bit. So you are a stand-up comedian. You are also a producer. Mm-hmm. What else would you label yourself as
I mainly say producer.
Producer?
Because, I do a million things.
Right.
I'm kind of, I do everything from photography.
Yeah, photography.
I shoot a lot of photography. I do a lot of I shoot a lot of video, obviously. Mm-hmm. I produce films. What else do I do?
Everything. Yeah.
I'm on stage a lot.
Yeah, you're kind of like, we're very similar in that. Yeah. And that's why I think, obviously we're working well together. Like I like to do a little bit of everything. I like to do stand up, produce, direct, shoot things here and there, so it's like kind of like, I don't know, you dip your hands in all the little, baskets, and it's like, all right, you get a taste of everything, I like that.
I'm trying to lead my life. I was thinking about this the other day. When I croak, I want to live a life where when I die, people cannot label who I was when I was alive.
I like that.
That's
that. Yeah.
I mean, I think for most people that is super unideal, but for me, I love this idea of just being undefinable, and I don't mean that in an ego way. I mean
that's an interesting way to put it, because like if someone who has to write your obituary, it's like, well, he did this, he did that. It's like, it can only be this long. Like, what do we omit? Like, like he did everything, like he loved animals, he did this, he did that, so it's almost like, make that obituary long so people have to read it,
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of I'm dyslexic and I've got some ADD or ADHD or whatever, and a ton of other problems. And for me, it just makes sense having this lifestyle, even though it's really difficult and at times, and it can be really stressful.
Right.
When I was a kid, I remember, I don't know who asked me, or if it was like a thing I saw on TV, but I remember a prompt. It was like, do you want to have a happy life or an interesting life?
Yeah.
Like if you had to choose between the two.
One or the other, yeah.
And I was like, without a doubt, interesting life.
Yeah.
I wanted an interesting life.
Can interesting lead to happy? Sure. Right?
I think so. Yeah. But interesting, I mean, a happy life to me is kind of like, well, it's easy to be happy. You know what I mean?
Is it easy to be happy?
I mean,
it can be, I think, at times, but then, everyone goes through their spurts of ups and downs, I would say, and the roller coaster of life, right?
yeah, I mean, I could have taken a traditional thing and gone
Right.
the traditional track, and I suppose
Traditional job.
you grind it
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
for moments of general happiness.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But I think what we do, I've always liked chasing stuff. Like I was obsessed with pirates when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and American Indians. And I just love this idea of just the West,
Right.
Just running and doing my own thing,
Right.
chasing things and building things, and that's always been my drive.
That's the way to do it, I think, because it's like, I don't. Yeah, everyone could get a traditional job and just kind of like go through the motions or whatever. But I feel like I know some people that have that world, and they're always like, "Oh, it's so interesting what you're doing. You're doing this and that, and you get all these different jobs or like things you're producing or whatever. And it's, yeah.
But there's a real cost for that.
Oh yeah. You're always
There's a real
you're
cost
always
for that.
going. It's you never know where the next paycheck's coming. Sometimes you're always chasing something. You're nonstop working 7 days a week. You know, and it's like it does get tiring after a while. And sometimes I'm like, I got to slow down doing this or like the simpler, like maybe I should just do this, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's times where I have self-doubt of doing what I'm doing, but then I'm like, but I feel like I have to. It's what I want to do,
I think here's a couple other metaphors. I always wanted to be in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to choose between watching the movie and being in the movie, I wanted to be in the movie.
Yeah, me too. At an age, yeah. And now I feel like I could totally just be behind the camera now.
Totally. But, in the same with this, I mean, most of my friends, especially my old friends, are just like, dude, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? Your life is so crazy, right?
Right.
And they love it.
Yeah.
But they would much rather spend $65 and go to the show.
Yeah.
As interesting as they think it is, to them, their value is basic happiness.
Right.
They prefer that
I
to
get
the
that.
cost of what we're doing. And
Yeah.
like where I don't want to sit in a fucking show. I want to produce the goddamn show. I want to be in the show. But the problem is our ticket is not $65.
No.
We're not going to disclose it on air, but it's way fucking bigger than $65.
Right.
That we're accountable for. Right. And that's,
exactly.
and most people, I mean, that kind of keeps the figure keeps me up at night, but it would destroy most of my friends. They wouldn't want they wouldn't want that level of risk. But to me, it's I like the rush.
I'm kind of like, you might as well take a chance. Like, you're out here in LA, Hollywood, doing the thing, producing, schlepping around, doing this, that. And I don't know, for me, I'm like, I will take chances here and there because it's like, you know what, I'm here, I'm doing it. Like I may not be here in 10 years doing it. So why not try it now and not have a regret and being like, oh, look, it worked out or, whatever. I'm glad I did it, as opposed to not taking the chance and then living somewhere else with a happy life.
Have you seen? Yeah. And that's
and not knowing the outcome of whatever you thought you might want to do,
And let's be real about this. The happy life is we were lucky enough to be born in this country.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Very lucky.
I mean, and if you watch that, I saw a clip the other day. Neil deGrasse Tyson, I think I'm saying his name wrong. He was talking about the probability of being born to begin with,
right,
on the planet. Like, regardless of where you're born,
yeah,
the odds are like 1 in a trillion that you'd even turn into an egg that gets birthed.
Oh, that's interesting. That's deep. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
right.
To me, and I'm not saying this to make anybody feel bad about where they set the bar for life.
Right.
But the way I look at it, it's like the fact that you were born in the first place, I can't imagine not wanting to just be the biggest, best version of what I can be. To me would be a complete thumb in the air to however this came to be.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That is interesting. Yeah, because like if the fact of that percentage of you actually being born, and then I mean, obviously you're not going to know if you weren't born,
No.
because you don't exist. But but yeah, it's like like what's it's almost like, all right, that sperm and that egg made you, know. So it's like, what about the thousands of other sperms that got denied,
And look,
it's like, who are those people?
we're not all equal, and I know that. I mean, we're equal in certain realms, but it's like, some people, they can't, people's. I don't know. I'm digging myself into a hole, but it's like
Basshole. You're digging yourself into a basshole.
Yeah, I'm having my basshole moment now. Not everybody's capable of doing everything.
No,
I can't play basketball, so
No,
I'm not. I wasn't born to be a basketball player.
I'm not an athletic person at all. No.
So, but it's like, I want to live to my potential. You know what I mean? And to me, it's like, yeah, my potential isn't going the well-heeled, troughed path,
Right, right, yeah.
Although many would argue, including me on certain days, that I'm also not good at what I do.
No, there's days I doubt every day what I'm doing. Like comedy, like why am I still doing this? It's like
yeah, like
or producing, or even this podcast. I'm like, all right, let's do another episode. So but it's it's fun. It's like, as long as you're having fun doing it, and it's always different. And yeah, there's stress levels that come with any kind of venture or challenge that you put before yourself. But you gotta tackle it, and I think that's what we're doing with the show that we're producing,
and we're having the time of our lives.
It's great. It's great. I mean, it's super fun. I've been producing all kinds of shows for years now, and this one, Basshole, is definitely one that I believe in. And just trying to bring it to the grander next level is a challenge in itself. And I'm glad that we were able to team up and do this, and we're gonna have a blast with it. And for anyone that is listening here in the Los Angeles, Hollywood area, the show is June 6th, Tuesday, June 6th, at the Bourbon Room Hollywood. The first show is Wax Poetics. That starts at 7 p.m. And then followed by I'm a Basshole at 9 p.m. So they can get tickets on Keida's Linktree.
Well, I made a Linktree.
There's a Linktree, yeah.
I think it's Keida Mascaro Comedy, like linktree.com/Keida Mascaro Comedy.
Yeah.
For some reason, that's the
That's
handle.
It. And the link is on all of our social medias: the Basshole Show, Doug Bass Comedy, Keida Mascaro, and Wax Poetic, and the Bourbon Room website, which is bourbonroom.com, I believe, right?
Yeah, and the thing that's Bourbon Room Hollywood.com. I made the mistake of not putting that right in some of the posts.
Bourbonroomhollywood.com.
And what's so amazing about it, it's Linktree. And what's so fucking cool about this technology and the scan technology, which we've used for the QR codes. Now you can just scan it, the Linktree pops up, and every link to every comic that's going to be performing is on there. So if you don't know, this is the thing that really blows my mind.
Who do we have on the show, by the way? Do we want to do?
Oh my God,
do you want to go through some of the list?
Take us 10 minutes. Well, our headliners, our big names are Eliza Schlesinger and
Tom Arnold. We got Eddie Pepitone.
Alonzo Bowden.
We have Steph Tolev.
Yep. We've got Shang. And Dean Del Rey.
Yeah.
Mike Binder. Who the younger people wouldn't necessarily know from stand-up, but he was the one that produced the amazing Showtime docuseries on the Comedy Store, which is sick.
Filmmaker. Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
Jimmy Shin is on the lineup.
Yeah, we got a great lineup. So if anyone is interested in coming to the show,
did we say Eddie Pepitone?
Eddie Pepitone, yep, I said him.
It's worth saying again.
And everyone should know that a portion of the ticket sales will be going to two different charities for this night. Stand Up for Pits is the first charity, and Sharing Love with Others is the second charity. So if you guys buy a ticket, the money will be going to a good cause as well. So that's why you guys
not all the money.
Not all the money. No, come on.
$2 per ticket goes $1 to each charity. Plus we're getting the word out. Plus we're also we're selling. There's 2 booths that we can sell.
Right.
The half the proceeds for the booths are gonna go to the charities.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're also giving a ton of tickets away to both, and
yeah, it's a good cause. And,
Yeah.
you know that money will definitely help those guys out. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a super fun night. Once we get there and we have all the work out of the way, that's when the fun starts. I think. I mean, even though we're having fun. Pre-producing right now,
Well, all right. To talk about the fun, one of the things we've been doing, which is so fun but so interesting.
Yeah.
See, you and Doug and I are, for whoever's listening, we're
Not many people, but
we're literally out every night.
most of the people are in Germany listening. So
Oh, really?
I don't think they'll be coming.
Oh, that's hilarious. We're out every night of the week.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm out taping all the time. We're performing a lot. You're out at the Improv a lot.
Right.
And what's funny is that there's this perception that like everybody knows every comic, right?
yeah, yeah.
At least that's my perception. It's like everybody's going to go ape shit over every single comic on the lineup.
Right.
So then we've been doing a lot of barking lately, and we're barking at the Fairfax Flea, the Melrose
Market.
Trading Post, which is this amazing thing on Sundays.
Yeah.
And it is astonishing to me how many people don't know so many comics.
There's a lot of people that don't know a lot. I mean, unless that's your world or you are an avid fan of comedy or obsessed with it, like you're not gonna know a lot of the people. A lot of people will see a clip and be like, "Oh, this person's funny," but then they don't know the name.
They know clips.
They know
That's
clips.
the thing that's interesting.
Yeah.
Is they know clips, but they don't necessarily know the comic.
They don't know
And
the comic unless like the comic is like a huge star or has a Netflix special or is on a TV show or a movie. I don't know. It's like it's interesting. And then it's like, and again, unless they are following their career or they're an avid fan of comedy.
I would say it's changed the way I've thought about posting videos. From now on, any video I post of myself, I'm going to have my name.
Oh yeah,
because no comics post their name. Their name is in the little, like their Instagram page. But it's not a lower third,
Well,
video.
usually because they put the captions over there. So I think you'd have to put the name either up top.
You have to put it at the top.
Yeah, or something like that. But yeah, that's a good point.
And the problem is most comics don't. They're editing through. Like we're filmmakers. We edit through Premiere Pro. Most comics are using a phone app.
Yeah.
Which doesn't allow you probably to put like something, but it makes me wonder like it would make a difference if you had your name at the top of your clip. So that way when people are watching a viral clip and they're like, oh, and they're looking at your name.
Good.
And what's so amazing, like, so Fairfax Flea, we started going there to bark. And the reason why is because it's a bunch of people between 20s to 50s.
Right. They're all there shopping for useless stuff, wandering around on a Sunday. It's a nice place to take a walk. Like, if you just want to like people watch and look at people selling stuff. And then you end up buying something sometimes,
Totally. But the thing is, what was my,
it's an engaging place.
It is. But the thing that's so weird about it is all these young people. And what I'll do is I'll go up and say, "Hey, are you in a comedy?" Which is like that's
what I did.
Fucking stupid thing to ask, but it's funny because it always gets them to stop.
Right.
Then it sets up the next question is like, okay, who on these lineups on the flyers that we're carrying around do you like?
Recognize? Yeah.
Most people know Tom Arnold.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which is surprising to me because he's older. He's older than me.
Well, it's I mean like my parents love Tom Arnold. So like when they knew like I was doing a show with them or whatever, they'd be like, "Oh, that's awesome." Tom Arnold, because they all watched Roseanne, they all watched like 9 Months, True Lie, all the movies that he was in, growing up or whatever. So, but yeah, younger people.
But then they don't know Eliza Schlesinger. Girls, they'll know Tom Arnold, but don't know Eliza. And I'm like, how do you not know who Eliza is?
Don't forget, Tom Arnold also had, I mean, this is obviously old news, but like, his marriage to Roseanne was a huge social boost for his career. I mean, I would say, so a lot of people know that kind of thing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, any kind of publicity is good publicity, they say,
Yeah.
So
it was just interesting who, taking a like a non, I'm like casually taking a poll in my head. Like when I ask, it's a really good.
Right.
And I always, and what I'm starting to do now is because, obviously we're going to be doing future shows.
Right.
I ask people who are their comics that they really love.
Right.
And half the times the people I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are influencer comics. They're not
comedy
comics.
That's a new thing. There's a whole influencer.
Really interesting.
It's like a TikTok or Instagram person, and they start doing stand up, and it's like a reality show, and they're like, oh, I can perform on a stage. And they start developing their act from that. It's changed a lot. It's there's a lot of different variables that go into it now. And then the club is like excited because they could sell it out because they have all these social media followers or whatever.
Yeah, it's an interesting time, and there's a lot of interesting debate around. I was just having this with an old comic yesterday. This debate about like the range between on one extreme the Instagram influencer comic, quote unquote, to someone like Dean Del Rey, who's like just a writing monster. Just like it doesn't matter. Like Dean, I've told him this before. It's like he'll have the same set whether it's 1,000 people or he's alone in an elevator.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's the same set because he's such a crazy wordsmith.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting time because then there's also the storytelling factor that goes into a lot of stand-up comedy now too, which is what I try to do with my show is mesh the two of them where it's stand-up and then storytelling, and a lot of people like that because people love a good story, and it's traditional stand-up sometimes you don't have the time to get into a longer story because you only got 5 minutes or 7 minutes or whatever. Yeah. So it's an interesting way to like kind of combine the two worlds, I would say. But yeah, it's you never know. You never know what the next kind of thing is going to be as far as it's all about social media. Oh, this person's got a following. They can sell out a room instantly. They've never been on stage. I've been at the Improv for working there and seen some shows. This person has a huge podcast. They have a following. They've never been on stage performing live, but they're going to do an hour at a sold out show at the Improv. And it's like, oh, okay, wow, all right, go ahead. And they're booked, and that's it. Yeah, but they don't care because it's sold out, and it's like, all right.
Well, it's also interesting because a lot of those, actually, I've seen it where it's like they have a huge following, but no one comes to see them live.
Yeah.
Or they have a huge following and they're awful.
Right. Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah.
Because there's a difference between making a TikTok Instagram video versus
talking for 30 minutes.
Yeah. It's like, that's a real art form. And I'm not saying people can't do it. I think 10 minutes is kind of the limit. If you're just doing off the cuff crowd work, and
it's the same thing as like turning that SNL sketch into a 90-minute feature film that doesn't need to be made or whatever. It's like, do you want to watch 2 hours worth of this, or do you want to watch 3 minutes of it?
Yeah, I don't think I have not seen it, and I tape shows. I probably tape 30 shows a week. Or 30 sets a week.
You are like the go-to guy for that. Like, I mean, you watch a lot of people perform.
Oh, that's all I do is watch people perform.
Yeah.
I have to pay attention, And the thing that's really been a huge gift in that is it's 2/3 of the time it's like people I've already seen multiple times.
Yeah.
Occasionally I'll see new people now. It was much more new people a year ago, but now I'm so in the mix. It's like the same people.
Yeah.
But what's really cool about that is that I get to, I know everybody's work.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm like sitting through it and paying attention, and then I'm editing and paying attention. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you right now, you can see there's a huge gap between, I can tell just by looking at someone, I'm like, that's a person who writes, and that's a person who riffs.
Right.
And the people that riff can't do, I can't think of one example, and I've literally taped hundreds of comics now.
Yeah.
There's not a person I can think of that can do more than 10 minutes effectively of riffing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because then there's the crowd work element.
Can't do it.
There's a way to combine both aspects of it. But yeah, going back to like the writing, like the bit, the structure, the story that's well crafted and written out with jokes, playing.
Yeah, the long form comics are all writers.
Yeah.
And you have to be.
You have to be a writer.
Even Jimmy Brogan. Do you know Jim
Oh,
Brogan?
Yeah. Old school. Yeah.
Oh, he's totally old school. And it's funny because if you go to his show, you're like, oh, wow, he's just like going right into the crowd and he's amazing at it. But if you go to multiple shows of his, you realize that even the only way he's able to do what he's doing is because he's got this incredibly well-crafted infrastructure of like the types of jokes the types of entry points into the crowd.
Right.
It seems random if you're just going to one show, but if you go to more than one show and you study it, it's like
you get to study everyone because you see everyone multiple times over the course of a month or two or whatever, and that's kind of a gift in itself where you get to like be like, all right, for your own knowledge as a comedian, you can be like, all right, they're doing this, they're doing that. This didn't work,
it's been a huge education for me.
Sure, yeah.
Unfortunately, it hasn't translated into a huge good set.
It will. Keep at it. I mean, I'm the same way. I'm always like, even working at the Improv, I'm like, I end up watching some of these people over and over again. That you get sick of it sometimes. You're like, all right, I can't stay in this room anymore. I gotta get out of here. And it's like, all right, I've seen this 100 times. But it is cool to like kind of see different things that work and then things that don't work, and then they switch it up for the next show. Maybe.
All right. So we're not going to burn any comics on here. So let's talk about who, off camera, I'm going to ask you who the people are that you leave the room for. But on camera, I want to know who, if you had to come up with a couple names of people that if you saw them 100 times, it's still not enough.
I mean, still not enough. I mean,
even when you know every single bit out of their mouth. I mean,
well, the interesting, like Eliza's amazing because like every time she goes up, she's adding a new thing. I feel like every time I see her.
If she listens to this, she's going to think it's a shameless promotion for our
show.
show.
It is a shameless promotion. June 6th at the Bourbon Room, headlining Eliza Schlesinger. Shameless plug. But no, but she is like someone that she gets up there and she's got the energy. It's like she's all over the stage. She grasps the audience and like they're paying attention. They're really there for the ride. And she's always adding different things. And like, I forget she's got like so many Netflix specials. She's got like 5 or something.
Yeah, a lot.
And that's a lot. That's a lot. Like, I don't know, over the course of how many years? I don't know.
I really, what I love about Eliza's stuff is that I feel like as a man, I get a real window into a woman's mind through her stuff. Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of hacky comedy out there that's kind of like, okay, doesn't offer a lot. I get it. It's funny, sort of on a surface. Her work really, I always leave a show of hers feeling like I have a deeper understanding about
for sure
what women are going through, what it's like to be a woman.
Yeah. She's very smart. I know. It's always a good show.
So come see her on the 6th.
Come see her on the 6th, yes. They can get those tickets again at bourbonroomhollywood.com or on our social media pages, Basshole Show, Keida Mascaro, Tuck Bass Comedy, Wax Poetics.
So who's another comic that you're that you just can't get enough of?
Let me see. I mean, I don't know. I mean, for me, honestly, sometimes I watch so much of it, it all like blends together at times because I'm also working, which is a shitty answer to that. But it's an honest answer, I'd say. It's kind of like watching, I don't know, like if you're watching like a movie for like the 20 millionth time or something. So sometimes you
like Tom Rhodes.
He's good. Yeah.
He's one of my favorites.
I haven't seen him in a while at the Improv, but when he pops in, he's very funny. Dave Attell was there this week. I didn't get to see him. He's someone I watched growing up as a high schooler, and I always thought he was so cool and so brilliant. And I was pissed that I didn't go in and see him at the Improv this week. It was I think it's this. No, it is Wednesday. This Wednesday. Yeah, it's sold out. So maybe I'll be able to see him a little bit, but I'll be at the bar. But we'll see. He's amazing. Who else? I don't know. I can't even think right now. I'll have to come up with a list. We'll have to get back to this.
Yeah.
How about you?
Daryl Hammond.
Oh, Daryl. Yeah.
He's
a great storyteller.
He is such a good storyteller, and I have had so many conversations with other people where I've like told his jokes to friends because I've seen his bits so many times.
Yeah.
I could perform probably all of them.
That's cool.
I could impersonate him doing his sets.
Right.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, I never get tired of his, because he's so fucking hilarious and his storytelling is so genius, and he's such a funny character. I mean, he's a really interesting human.
Yeah.
He's one I would put up there. I would put Tom up there too. Tom is like
Tom Arnold.
but I like storyteller comics.
Yeah.
I'm kind of preferential.
I really like storytelling. So that's the interesting thing, because some people might see Tom and be like, oh, he does too long, or I don't know, because I've heard people that I know that I work with, they'll be like, oh, Tom with the stories or whatever, you know what I mean? But like, it's not for them. It's not for them. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like I love his old school like Hollywood stories, or like, he's very interesting stories, and it's like, and he has had an interesting career. So it's like he definitely obviously has stories to tell about. And he does it in a way where there's all these jokes in it, and some of them are just crazy, So it's like it is appreciative for me. Like, I like storytelling. Some people don't like storytelling. I mean, they just want joke, bit, Or you see comics do like something. I'm like, that's not true. That's a little far fetched. I don't know. The people that do that, I'm not a really big fan of. It's just like kind of in your face, and it's like, that didn't really happen, but you're doing it. And Tom is he's a master storyteller, and you can see Tom where you can see him on June 6th.
June 6th.
June 6th at the Bourbon Room for I'm a Basshole. Tom will be a celebrity judge on the judging panel, judging all the comedians with their asshole stories. So it's going to be a different side of Tom on the show on June 6th. He's going to be there judging people, which I think he's going to be brilliant at. So, all right. So, is there a time that you were an asshole? Do you have an asshole story that you
tons?
Yeah.
And let's see, what was I? So I did the story when I did the Basshole. I did the story about Captain Beefheart, which
with that music,
landed awfully because no one in the crowd knew who Captain Beefheart was.
No one knew the song.
There was no one under or over 60 in the crowd. But it is a hilarious story, but whatever. I think, there's two stories that come to mind. There was one time there was a girl, this is awful. There was a
Perfect.
There was a girl, so I used to work at this place called Wax, which was a supermodel celebrity bar in New York City in the Bowery.
Okay.
And it was run by this crazy sleuth downtown lounge lizard guy named Nur Khan.
Nur Khan?
Nur Khan. Yeah, he's like that was one of his first clubs, but he's since become a legendary club guy. Okay. In New York for these like super high, like my favorite thing, even though it crushed me because I love U2, but he once he didn't let Bono in the bar.
Really?
Yeah. Oh. Bono had a fit and he wouldn't let him in the bar. I guess they got in a fight or something.
Wow.
And I was like,
that's ballsy. Yeah.
You got to have some fucking huge nuts to like, and this wasn't Bono recently, which I'm not saying, Bono's, a fading star now. This was like 25 years ago.
The height of U2. Yeah.
This was like Zooropa fucking Bono.
Yeah.
And so anyway, and it was a hero of mine, but it's kind of like, man, you got to kind of tip it a little bit for someone that's got that nuts.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, I'm in this bar and there were all these grifting maniacs in the bar. And this one girl used to come in all the time trying to get free drinks.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stand it. And no one could stand it. She used to drive everybody fucking nuts. So one day I just was like, that's it. So she came up and I can't believe I'm admitting this in public. So she came up and she's like, can I get a drink? And I was like, oh yeah, sure. I'll have the waitress bring it over to you. And she's like, okay.
Yeah.
So she sits down and I poured her a champagne and I took my pants down and dipped my cock in the fucking champagne.
What? Oh my God.
And
this is like behind the bar or like what's going on?
No, not in front of her.
No, of course. like no, secret.
Behind the bar, but I did it so that all my coworkers could see it. Cause you know, everybody hated this woman. And so I just did, and not just the tip, I just like really dunked the whole, I had to fill half the fucking thing up again. And we gave it to her, and like the whole night.
She's wasted at this point.
No, this is beginning of the night.
First drink.
Yeah, I had to make sure there were no pubic hairs in it.
She's the type of girl that's gonna be drunk in like an hour or whatever.
In 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
And so anyway, so we all sat there watching her sip this fucking drink, and it was wonderful, and I feel horrible about it.
See, that's a good asshole story. Like that like next time you're on the live show, you got to do that one, because like it's very short, obviously, but it's a good length for the show.
It doesn't need to be longer than that. Thank God it's not longer than that story.
And no one ever found out about it.
I mean, no, she didn't find out about it.
What did the coworkers
Oh,
think?
they were so proud of me. Yeah. They loved it.
Now, did you just like do it in front of the co, or you turn around?
I just was behind the bar. I was like, I gathered everybody around.
Gather
around,
watch
this, and
everyone gather around. Look at my cock go into this.
Yeah, and they were just like,
drink.
"What the fuck are you really doing?" I'm like, "Yes, fuck this."
Because everyone hated this girl.
Everybody hated her because she was the girl that asked everybody for free drinks.
Right.
You know,
right.
And.
That's a good one.
You know, it was just like, stop. But then she wouldn't stop. So,
now when she came back for a refill, did you didn't put the balls in? For the second
no, after that, I felt so bad about it that I didn't mind giving her free drinks.
Right, because she already took the nasty.
It was just figured she earned the respect of.
Right. That's so. I mean, it kind of makes you think like. You know, in the course of our lives, like going out to eat, getting drinks, whatever. Like, what has someone done to something that you've eaten?
Dude, let me tell you what they've done.
You know.
Yeah. Like, dude, I'm not kidding you. I remember one time I was working in this retirement home, and
this already sounds disgusting.
Yeah, and there was this guy Jimmy. The chef was Jimmy, and Jimmy had severe burns all over his face. He was scary as hell looking. Nice guy.
Right.
And you wouldn't know it looking at him. And so he was the angriest fucking chef. And I remember one time, it was like a retirement home for old people. Yeah. And so it was like, an elderly care center. And so I remember one time there was this awful, everybody was awful. All the old people, they were sweet, but they were, and so one night this one woman was like, her steak wasn't cooked enough. Mm. And I take it back and I'm like, hey, Jimmy, you can give me the goddamn steak. And he throws it on the fucking thing, gives it back to me. And she wants it more done than it was. And so I take it back and I'm like, oh, fuck. And I was like, Jimmy, and he said, give me that fucking steak. So he grabs the steak, and he had like size 13 boots.
Right.
He's a fucking huge guy. So he takes the steak, throws it on the fucking ground, and he pulverizes the steak with his boot and then chucks it in the fucking fryer and fries it for like 10 minutes.
And it's like literally well done.
He pulls it out of the thing. You can see the boot tracks on it, and he puts it back on the plate. He's like, give it to her and don't fucking bring this back to me. Now I'm 17. I'm a kid. I'm not.
So you're not saying anything.
I'm scared as shit about this guy.
So you bring it.
So I bring it back, and she fucking eats. I'm watching her eat it, and I'm just like, oh my God, the guy was stomping on this fucking steak with his foot.
That's horrible. She had no clue. Yeah.
No, but I was, like.
That's why they always say never send your food back.
No.
Just fucking eat it.
There was, okay, I have another story. So the lead singer, I'm going to tell you the lead singer's story, but before that, the lead singer of the band I had in the late 90s, the Pinks, my buddy, I won't name him. He drove me fucking crazy because he used to take things back all the time. And of course, he never had a real job like that.
Right.
And so whenever we went out, to eat, I would always order on a separate tab, even if it was 2 of us or 4 of us.
Yeah.
Because I knew that guy ate more cockroaches and fingernails, and because he would change the order 8,000 times. And I'm telling you, if you go in and make a bunch of changes, you're going to end up eating cockroaches, spit, all kinds of, chefs are brutal.
Oh yeah. That's why it's like, unless the only time I would send something back, it's like if you get something and it's like really undercooked.
Yeah.
And like a chicken or something, something like, obviously this is fucked up, but yeah.
No, you don't fuck with the chef.
No,
unless you want to eat a bunch of shit that's not in the ingredients list.
Right.
So, and if the only way, I mean, if you've ever worked, you only need to work one shitty job like that to witness what happens.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's a nice chef. There's chefs out there that'll just do shit for no reason, spitting pizzas, whatever. But I'm
wondering, like, like with all the cameras and stuff now, don't you think like chefs are more like aware of like I'm gonna get busted?
I'm not gonna bet on it.
No, yeah.
I'm not betting on it.
Yeah.
So anyway, here's my second asshole story that I've been kind of putting up in shows lately.
Yeah.
So Josh, or I bleep that out, the lead singer of my band back in the day. So I was cooking for Rod Stewart for 10 years.
Right.
The long story we won't go into now. So anyway, I would cook for all these celebrities. Rod Stewart was one of my main celebrity chefing gigs. And I would do all these crazy parties, and it was really exciting. I'd hire all my good friends. But I had a lot of weirdo friends, and I didn't want to hire them because you don't want a bunch of... there's enough to worry about.
I get it, yeah. It's like it's a very specific job.
Yeah.
And like you can't hire the person that wants it the most or whatever,
Yeah. No, not if you want to not die of stress.
Right.
And so anyway, but we're roommates. And so I can't not... He knows... about the gigs.
Right.
And so anyway,
where you going? Rods again?
he's like, where are you going with the chef hat on?
Yeah.
So anyway, one day he's like bugging me. He's like, I love Rod Stewart. I got it. He's the singer.
Right.
So I'm like, fuck. And so one day I relent and I'm like, okay, this is the deal though. I'm going to give you a gravy boat. Just fucking give people gravy. Don't look.
That's it.
Don't look
anyone.
weird. Don't look at anybody weird. Don't stare at anything. Just pick up plates, pour gravy. Can you just do that? And he's like,
even
sure.
if they don't want gravy, just give them the gravy.
Yeah. He's like, what do you think? I'm crazy? And I'm like,
Yeah.
just get in the car. You know what I mean? So we get in the car. And I'm already getting a stomach ache. And we get there as soon as the car stops. He leaps out of the car like a fucking chimpanzee. And I'm like, I'm fucked. I am fucked. I'm fucked. And we're at his this is like Beverly Park, huge $50 million mansion, So we get up there. And by the way, we're in our 20s. This is like not recently. This is like we're kids practically. And I'm only like a year sober. So I'm like out of my mind on top of being young.
Right.
And so we get in the thing and I'm just sweating bullets because I know I'm like, he's loose in the house.
You don't even know where he is.
I don't even know where he is. And I'm like, fuck. This is before you could have surveillance.
Like a dog like running out of the car.
It was worse than a dog. Yeah. At least a dog, where the dog's going to go. The dog's not going to stare at people, So anyway, so within 5 minutes, Rod comes flying into the kitchen. By the way, Rod is the prickly. Rod's a cool dude, all things considered, but he's the most particular anal retentive fucking guy. You don't have hair like that without being OCD,
That's a whole thing,
So anyway, he comes flying in the kitchen, steam shooting out of his ears. I'm like, oh fuck. I'm like, it's Josh,
Right.
And so, poor Josh. I hope he doesn't hear this. I think it's a great story, but anyway.
He's not going to listen to
it. So Rod comes in and he's like, who is that guy? And I knew, I had like 6 other people I hired, but I knew it was, I didn't have to ask.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you mean Josh?
Hey, dogs, shut up. See, this is the problem when you have dogs trying to do a podcast.
Oh, that's great. I love dogs.
Yeah.
So he's like, why is that guy in the house?
Who let him in?
And I was like, listen. So what I didn't think of at the time is I didn't think of a reason why. I didn't think it through and come up with a good reason why he's there.
Right.
And here's the problem.
He was your helper for the night, or whatever?
Yeah, he was he was supposed to be a waiter.
Right.
You know what I mean?
How many? But he's the only person you brought with.
No, I had like 6 people.
Okay. All right.
But the thing is, the problem is, this became I could tell by the look on Rod's face, this was a really huge problem. Mm-hmm. He was very fixated on how annoying Josh was.
Right.
And so, and I'm like, and I had to come up, I had to have something to fucking shut Rod down.
Yeah, why do you need this guy?
Yeah, because otherwise we would have been packing up and leaving. Right. It was very serious, very fast. So I had to come up with something. I had to come up with a nuclear or nuclear or whatever thing.
Right.
And so in my moment, I was like, Mr. Stewart, I should have cleared this with you. Cleared what with me? Like, listen, I'm a part of this program. There's a center for men with mental retardation that I'm partnered with. We have this, I'm starting to make this up. I'm like, we have this, career partnership thing, and
Right.
he's the resident of the month, and I'm giving him an opportunity.
This is Make-A-Wish. I'm giving him an opportunity to work. Is that
The opportunity to work? I'm like,
This is his first job.
I'm like, I even threw out. I was like, it's FEMA's involved. I'm like really going on a fucking ledge here.
There's a disaster. He's been misplaced.
So Rod just looks at me, burns a hole through me, and then just fucking turns around and runs out of the room. And so the rest of the evening, I'm sitting there looking through the kitchen door. All I see is a party full of drunk people having a great time, except Rod is mean mugging him all night long.
Oh, my God.
And Josh is walking around blissfully unaware that Rod is sitting there wanting to kill the guy.
Did you pull him, Josh, aside? We're just using his name now. Forget it. Did you pull him aside at some point and be like, look, like you gotta get your shit together? Like
I couldn't.
The way you're acting.
There was nothing I could do.
Yeah.
And the thing that was so great about this, though, is that saying that, I was off the hook.
You were off the hook.
I was off the hook. I didn't have to worry about it anymore. And it was literally the most hilarious thing in the world, seeing Rod
right.
fucking so angry, hate fucking
can't do
him
anything.
with his
Yeah,
eyes.
yeah.
And Josh is just like walking around the room. Oh my God, it was so fucking
And
hilarious.
Josh doesn't know anything about this.
No, he had no idea.
Yeah.
I told him, and he ended up, very upset.
He was very upset. I actually want to meet Josh now.
Yeah, you'll meet him. You might have met him. He comes to comedy sometimes, but
all right.
he was.
I'm visually trying to like picture how he's acting at the house right now. Like,
He's just,
where it's like so off the wall and ridiculous that it's like, come on, man, get your shit together.
He was drawing attention to himself.
Right.
He was just acting like a weirdo.
Right.
There's some people. I have another friend.
There's some people that can't like maintain
They
themselves
can't
around
handle
celebrities.
it. They
or
can't
whatever.
handle it.
Yeah.
They get weird.
Yeah.
And like I had another friend that was visiting me from out of town, and she wanted to. I was doing a Patricia Arquette party, and I was like, yeah. And I give this speech to everybody. I don't care who you are. I don't care what.
Right.
Back in the day, if we worked together at a celebrity's house, I would just say, you don't take anything. You don't take pictures. You don't ask for autographs. You don't do anything weird. Just act like a fucking normal person.
Pour that gravy and then get the fuck out.
Yeah, just act like a normal human being. Like, I'm not saying act like a robot, but just don't act weird.
You're there to do your job. Do it.
Yeah.
It's like anyone else's fucking house.
Yeah, if someone hangs out and wants to talk to you, talk, but just don't act nuts. So anyway, so this friend of mine gets in there and like out of the corner of my eye. So Patricia had a pile of crystals and she's really woo, so there's crystals and
New age shit.
new agey stuff all over the place at this particular house that she was in. And I saw my friend palm some crystals.
Oh shit, stealing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Now again, it wasn't like she wasn't taking a painting off the wall. It wasn't like,
but
it was
an
a
easy
memento.
swipe. Yeah,
She just wanted a memento. She wasn't trying to steal something. It was like she wanted a memento.
Right.
I understand, but like literally that one thing that she did, if Patricia saw that, that could have destroyed my career.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
One thing.
Right.
One stupid quartz crystal could have like
especially if there's a camera or whatever. I mean, this is back when there was no cameras, probably. But
back then it was like more loose, but
still, it's like Jesus.
And I was known. The reason why I was as successful as I was back then doing that.
This was a catering company that you ran.
Yeah, it was a catering company.
Chef?
I was a high end chef that did.
You were a chef, and you used to be a chef.
Yeah, I for 10 years.
I didn't know this about you.
Oh yeah, for 10 years I cooked for Rod Stewart, Tarantino.
Right.
Who else?
How long?
Sharon
You were
Stone.
10 years. You were a chef. Did you just do private parties?
Only
like this?
private parties.
Never worked in like a restaurant or anything like that? Did you do like culinary kind of school or anything? How did you become a chef for these people?
Okay, so I guess we are going to tell the story.
Is that you just fall into that job? Like, hey, you know what? I can make a mean
I'm going to tell
ravioli.
you. Okay, this is the stupid fucking story. So I was newly sober.
Yeah.
I just moved to LA.
Okay.
Just got sober.
Right.
I'm 25, and I have a couple cousins in town. One of them's a visual artist, and so I would cook. And we're East Coast Italian guys, so I would just cooked all the time growing up. So I've always known how to cook because of my parents.
Right.
And so anyway, I would make these hors d'oeuvres for his client, his art shows.
Okay.
He'd have these art things. I'd make a bunch of hors d'oeuvres and for fun, you know. And at the time, I was waiting tables at Swingers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The diner over here?
Yeah.
On Beverly?
Yeah.
Oh,
It was like my first
that's
LA
like
job.
That's like one of my favorite. I'm there like once every other week or whatever.
Yeah, it was
Love
there
that place.
in the Cadillac Cafe. Do you remember the Cadillac Cafe on
remember
La
that.
Cienega? Oh, it was great.
That
But
was, that was before my time, maybe.
that's another story. It's a great story though. But anyway, so my cousin had this big, huge gay guy named John Shergan, and he was a textile guy. And so he came to me, and he would eat all the literally, I was just making hors d'oeuvres for John.
Yeah,
he's
just
this
taking
fucking huge guy.
Right.
And so he came up to me one day, and he's like, "Hey, can you cook a Korean wedding reception?" And there was a friend of mine, Jimmy, who was a caterer in AA that I knew.
All right.
And so I knew a guy that was a caterer.
Yeah.
So he was like, "Hey, can you cook a Korean wedding reception?" Well, my house is near Koreatown that I live in.
Right.
And I knew Jimmy. So in a split second,
You're
I was
like,
like,
sure,
yeah, sure, I could do that. so I asked my friend Jimmy, and all I remember
That's what I love about LA. Like literally, like someone asks you, "Hey, can you do this?" You're like, "Yeah, absolutely."
Of course.
And then you fucking figure it out.
2 weeks, sure. I got plenty of time to figure this out. So
Sounds like the beginning of a bad movie. You don't understand. We need 1 million dumplings for this Korean wedding. Where are we gonna get that? Why'd you say yes to that? You know, like-
And so I ran. So I was like, I went to Barnes and Noble. I told Jimmy,
You got
I
a
was
book.
like, this friend Jimmy, I did. I got a
Cooking Korean weddings
Pan-Asian
for idiots.
I got a Pan-Asian book.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That was great at Barnes and Noble's, like
Right.
the discount bin,
Right.
the $10 book. And I went to Jimmy, this guy Jimmy, not Jimmy Chen, and Jimmy was like, "Dude, you're fucked. Just get everybody drunk." And I was like, "Okay, that's a good advice." And so it was a party for like 50 people.
Right.
And what I did is the first thing I did is I bought the book. Second thing I did is I went to a Korean restaurant in Koreatown.
Just bought food.
So I went into this restaurant thinking they're going to think it's sweet that I'm the dumb white guy is going to cook for a Korean wedding. They couldn't give two shits. They were like, all they did was they didn't care. And they gave me a fried fish with its head and no help. So I'm like,
Right.
all right, well, that didn't go anywhere. And so what I ended up doing is I made a Thai curry from scratch.
All right.
And I'm saying this right now. If there's anybody listening that cooks, when the fucking cookbook tells you to wear gloves when you cut Thai chilies, don't think because it's a fucking old lady in the picture that you're not.
That go right through your skin, right? Or like, I mean, that shit's hot.
Dude, for 3 days, I made this chili.
And you can't touch your eyes or anything.
Well, I touched everything, including my nutsack, and I was burning for 3 days. I almost had
my God.
asphyxia thing. And so I made this Thai curry from scratch, made all this other stuff from scratch. And so I get to this party, and there were Thai people there.
Yeah, naturally. I would hope so.
And they're like, "Oh my God, the curry is amazing. What did you use?" And I'm like, "What do you mean what I use? I made it." And they're like, "You made it from scratch?" These are Thai people from Thailand.
And they loved it?
They loved it.
Wow.
And they were like, "You made it from scratch?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "How do you make your Thai curry?" They're like, "Oh, we just buy the curry paste." I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? I almost lost my life."
So it was a success, you cooking this thing.
I made $500.
Wow. See, I was picturing like, you've seen The Birdcage, right? The movie
No.
The Birdcage? Oh, no. This is the famous dinner scene at the end where, one of the people is like pretending to be a chef and he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
Oh, no. Well,
It's a
that was
disaster.
me, but it did work.
But no, it was a
did work.
disaster. Okay,
because
all right.
I am a good chef.
Right.
I'm a good cook.
Right.
You know,
So
at
you
that
figured
point,
it out. Yeah.
figured it out enough to fool a bunch of Asian people that
Right.
I know how to make Asian food.
All right.
So I made $500, and this is like late 90s. That's a lot of money.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
yeah.
So I was like, okay. I bought a chef hat and a chef jacket.
And you just start walking around. like a
No,
chef.
I didn't walk around. I knew from my friend Jimmy.
Yeah.
He said, because he asked me, how did it go? And I was like, it went well. He's like, you should go. He's like, there's these agencies in town for rich people.
like the temp agency, or like
the nanny agent,
nanny, butlers, all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Rose Agency, the help company, and there was a third one.
Right.
So anyway, he's like, go to them and
Tell them you're a chef.
tell them you're a chef. So
Right.
what I did is I bought a chef jacket and the stupid fucking hat
You
that
showed
no
up-
one wears.
You showed up in uniform.
And I show
Like
up
the
in
Swedish
uniform.
chef? You
at
showed up like
these-
the Swedish chef.
Yeah. So I show up to these things and they're just like, get the fuck out of here. You're out of your mind.
You're like a fucking character walking in from Hollywood Boulevard. I'm a chef.
They're like, Paramount Studios is there. You're in the
Yeah,
wrong
yeah.
place. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the third guy, sorry, this is such a long
No,
story.
this is interesting. I didn't know this about you.
So the third guy looked at me and he's like, you're full of shit. He's like, just you're full of shit. Stop. He's like,
Because are they asking like, where's your culinary degree?
Yeah,
Like, what
this is
school
like,
did you
you're-
go to? Yeah.
I'm like, I'm a celebrity chef, you know?
So
They're
you're
like,
saying,
get the fuck out of here.
that you're a celebrity chef.
I was.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I thought my edge, because I was in a punk band at the time, I thought that was gonna like fool
Yeah.
someone.
You're like the next Guy Fieri. Before,
Yeah,
before
exactly.
there was Guy Fieri.
Yeah, this was before Guy Fieri. This was before
You're like, I
fucking
got the
Bourdain.
tattoos.
Dude.
I got, yeah.
This was before
Right.
Anthony Bourdain.
Right, right.
This is a long time ago.
yeah.
So anyway,
This
so
is the age of when you're throwing anything at the wall to see what sticks.
totally. So then so the last guy who I'm still friends with,
Yeah.
he was like, "You're full of shit."
But I love
He's
it.
like, "But," he's like, "I happen to be in a pinch right now." And he was charmed by me.
Right.
He was like, "You're full of fucking shit," but he's like, "Can you cook a turkey?" It was like 1999 Thanksgiving. It was like
Right.
2 weeks before Thanksgiving.
Right.
He's like, can you cook a turkey? And I was like, I can cook turkeys, hams. I'm like, he's like,
Yeah.
cut the bullshit, just a turkey.
Right.
But yeah.
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
He's like, okay, go to this address. Here's the client. He's like, I need someone to cook them a dinner.
All right.
It was Rachel Hunter, who at the time was married to Rod, but they were separated.
all right,
So
all
she
right.
was living in a house in Coldwater Canyon.
Okay.
So I go meet her. I mean, she's like a year or two older than me. So
Yeah.
we were both in our 20s,
Right.
you know? So I get there and so I had a $2,000 budget. And so I was like, I'm just going to hire all my hot friends and I'm not going to make any money. I took the $500 I thought I'd make and I put it into food
Yeah.
and decorations. And I made this I went down to the fabric district and got all this crazy fabric and, and I, 2 turkeys, a ham, all these sides.
You made the turkeys?
Oh yeah.
So
no,
you got
I
the
went
turkeys. You
yeah,
made all the
yeah, I
food.
could do that.
You made all that stuff, and then you
Yeah.
had your hot friends like serve it, or
Hot
make drinks
fucking
or
friends,
whatever. Yeah.
drinks and food.
You're in charge of the bar and the
Charge
food,
of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole night. Yeah.
Yeah, and I hired everybody, and so smashed it.
Right.
Fucking smashed. It was great. Well, and because it was all young people. It wasn't like
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
all people in their 20s and 30s,
Right,
and like
right.
they were just
They're
drunk
happy,
and high.
They're happy to be catering and making a few bucks.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Oh no, I meant the guests. Everybody
guests.
was
Oh, yeah,
a
yeah.
kid. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Oh,
It
okay,
was
yeah,
like
they're
all
all
young
young.
people.
Right.
So
So what do they know about gourmet? Yeah.
they didn't whether they knew or not, they didn't care. They were
didn't
just
care, yeah.
oogling
It's
over the
Thanksgiving.
cute girls
Yeah, yeah.
and like,
Right.
it was Thanksgiving. And
Yeah.
like, who cares?
Right.
But it was good. I made great Thanksgiving food.
Right.
So anyway, a week later, I get a call from Rod's assistant, this woman, Amanda, wonderful person. And she was like, hey, she's like, can you come up to the house and cook a test dinner?
A what dinner?
A test
Oh,
dinner.
a test dinner. Okay. all
She's
right.
like, Mr. Stewart would like you to come up to the house and cook a test dinner.
Oh, you heard so much about your Thanksgiving.
Yeah, through Rachel.
Right.
So I'm like, of course, and see, this is where being only about a year sober and being 25, I was out of my fucking mind. I was so high on the excitement of this.
It's being a year sober, I'm sure, like, you're looking for different things to do, and I don't know, maybe, like it must be challenging.
Yeah.
And then you fall into this kind of thing that's like, oh, this is a great opportunity.
It was
I got to learn some stuff, meet some new people, jump into it.
It was all that stuff, but what more than anything, it was an adrenaline rush.
Okay,
It was
yeah.
like, holy shit, like I'm like rolling sevens, you know what I mean?
Right,
And I was
right,
like,
right.
so my buddy Jeff and I get him involved.
Right.
At the time I had a Buick that was like about a block long.
Just seems like the biggest scam.
It was the scam of fucking scams, right?
The only thing better would be like if like you were the chef, but then like you were like the start of like the bling ring where you like you like ended up robbing like Rod Stewart's house. And, like he didn't know until like 5 years later or some shit. But that turkey was amazing.
Exactly. And so as I put Jeff in the car, I have a thing of a bunch of food, in the coolers. And I'm putzing up. It was just like this old, huge Buick. We're sitting on a couch seat and we're riding up. And all of a sudden, it just hits me.
Yeah.
And I pull on the side of the road. We're on Mulholland. I pull on the side of the road. And Jeff's like, he looks at me and he's like, dude, what's up? What's wrong?
Yeah.
I was like, everything's wrong. I was like, what the fuck are we doing? And he's
We're
like,
gonna get caught.
He's like, we're going to Rod Stewart's house to cook dinner. And I was like, exactly. I was like, this isn't a fucking dentist named Rod Stewart. This is Maggie May Rod Stewart.
Yeah.
This is like, we're going to a $40 million mansion.
Right. Yeah.
I'd never been in a $40. I mean, I've been in some mansion parties, but this was
is a big deal. Yeah.
they were like mansion parties of people that were renting a mansion that was empty to have a party in. I had never been to a person's mansion like this.
Right.
And I literally just had a come to moment. I was like freaked the fuck out, wigged out completely. And I told him, I was like, let's just go back down the hill, eat these steaks and not answer our phone. Just pretend like nothing happened.
Right. Because you're,
He's like,
you're not under contract or anything.
No,
right?
no. It was just, I mean, back then LA was such a smaller town back then.
Yeah.
It was, everything
This
was
is 99, you said? 2000?
99. This is like when it was.
I moved here in 2003. So yeah.
Okay. So you were still, it was a small town. It was internet was around, but it was pre-social media, pre-flip phones.
Oh, totally.
I mean, we didn't even have a cell phone.
Simpler times. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just it was like Wild West.
Right.
And there were no influencers. This was the era of rock stars and movie stars. And it was a small town.
That's it.
So anyway, he finally convinces me to he's like, dude, we got to do it. And I'm like, all right. I just needed a moment to breathe,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So we roll up into his house and we get in the kitchen. He comes in the kitchen. It's just so fucking weird for someone like Rod Stewart to just walk in a kitchen on you. And you're just like, I'm 25. I'm like,
we're the chefs.
what is going on? You know what I mean? So he comes in, we cook and we murdered.
Yeah.
We just,
what did you
I don't
make?
know.
Steaks?
I made like steaks and nothing crazy, but the culinary gods came in and I made this amazing dinner.
How many people are you cooking for? This
Rod and his
two.
girlfriend.
Just two. It's a test dinner.
Yeah, Rod and Penny.
Yeah.
Penny Lancaster, who's now married to him.
Okay.
She was dating him at the time.
Got it. So 2 steaks, two meals.
And that was another thing we had to avoid because Penny, also not much older than us, was, Jeff and I were cute back then. So I had to act like he was my boyfriend to not get any weird energy.
Right.
It was just a nightmare. So anyway, cook this thing. And then at the end of the dinner, he comes flying in the room and he's a little couple sheets of the wind. And he's like, you're my new chef. I was like, what the fuck does that mean? What does that mean? You know what I mean?
So are you hired as his like personal chef now?
Yeah. Well, not anymore, but
No,
I mean,
not now. No,
from that moment on,
did he have a chef or was he
had
looking for
multiple
one?
chefs.
He had multiple ones.
he had multiple. This is the way it is with those people. Like, it's like they get, they have like someone who's day to day that's just cooking like chicken, making salads and making sure that.
But you're coming in
fridge
for
is
like
stocked.
an event, like
No, I was like high end, really high end events.
Yeah.
Dinner parties and birthday parties and, all that stuff.
Right.
So I was doing, which was really cool. I didn't want to be in there doing daily because then you're just making like
whatever
roast chicken and whatever they want.
Yeah.
It's just boring stuff.
Yeah.
He would call me in if he wanted like, sometimes I get call in for like dinner for him and Penny and a couple of the kids.
Korean special or something, Thai special.
Special Thai stuff. but usually it was like there would be, like when he was doing the those Past Masters series, when he was doing all those old jazz standards,
Right.
he'd have they'd have a huge party for like the new album, and it would be like 8 people, like his manager and a couple of his people.
That's so interesting. So you worked for him for how many years then?
I like 10 years.
10 years as one of his go-to chefs. Wow.
One of them though, because people like Rod will have like they'll go through
rotating people.
They'll rotate through. Yeah, one time he got mad at me because he started gaining weight.
Oh.
And he was like about to go on tour, and he's like, you got to stop feeding me this fattening. And actually one time I got so Sugar. I have a lot of stupid stories, but you remember Sugar Ray's album where they're on the beach?
I mean, vaguely. I don't know. Sugar Ray.
Yeah, so you remember Sugar Ray?
I know Sugar Ray, but I don't remember their albums per se.
Well, there's one album. It came out in like 2003 or 4, where they're in sombreros on the beach.
Oh, okay, yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah.
So I got hired one time. Somebody connected me to them, and they were doing this thing, and they rented a beach house in Malibu for a weekend.
Yeah,
and they were gonna shoot the whole weekend, this music video and the album cover. So they hired me, and they were like, "Hey, you want to come to?" And it was awesome. I just like lived in this house with the bandmates and all these girls, and it was I had a great budget, so I made the craziest food. I just made the most delicious.
Well, now you're this celebrity chef,
Yeah, it was just great. It was just great. And so I'm making all this crazy food and like hanging out on the beach while they're shooting. And the third day was the day that they did the beach thing, and they were supposed to do it with no shirts on, but they had been eating so much
of your food.
My food.
Your food is like comfort food, I'm guessing.
That day it was comfort food. I just wanted to make good stuff. And they were partying at night and to have all this barbecue
drinking
and
shit.
The last day I made, or the last night before the Sunday shoot, I made like macaroni and cheese and fried chicken. And
no wonder Rod was looking a little pudgy in those years. I remember this.
So like the day we were wrapping up, and I remember I was sitting there in the kitchen. Mike McGrath came up, and he puts his hand on my shoulder. Really sweet. They were all really super nice guys.
Yeah.
But he comes up and he puts his hand on my shoulder. He's like, "Hey," he's like, "I'm never hiring you again." I was like, "You didn't like the food?" And he's like, "No, I loved the food." He's like, "We were supposed to do that shoot today." He's like, "Did you see that shoot on the beach today?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Did you notice we were wearing shirts?" And I was like, Yeah, I noticed that. And he's like, "You know why we were wearing shirts?" And I was like, "Because that's what the plan was." He's like, "No, the plan was no shirts."
Because of the food.
He's like, "We ate so much of your fucking food, we couldn't wear. We were all self-conscious." He's like, "You're never doing a photo shoot with us again."
Well, that's a good backhanded compliment, I guess. Right?
So anyway, that was a really
that's an amazing. I mean,
it's fun.
So then you were a chef for like 10 years or whatever, right? What made you get out of that? Like, were you finally like, fuck, I got to come clean, and I lied my way to the top or whatever?
No, what happened was it's a good question, because what I needed when I was getting in, I needed to be able to make a lot of money in a small window of time.
Okay. Yeah.
So that way I wasn't doing I didn't want to be waiting tables 5 days a week.
Right.
To make my rent and all that stuff, because I didn't want to have to make money with my art. And at the time I was getting into filmmaking and photography and video installations and every type of art form that doesn't make money.
Right.
And so I was like, how can I do all this and have the flexibility and freedom? You have to make money from somewhere.
Yeah, you gotta do something else. Yeah.
And it's like at the time you could wait, we'd work all day long at Swingers, make $80.
Yeah.
Literally back-breaking, horrible work.
Right. Yeah.
You make $80.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For like an 8-hour shift, and you had to sleep for 2 days to get well.
Yeah.
So whereas like the catering, I would also, chefing, I would also work my ass off like that. But like after 2 days, I'd have $1,000, not
Right.
$80.
Better money, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or not 100, instead of $160 of 2 shifts, I'd have 1,000 or 15 or 2,000.
Right.
You know, it was great. So I only had to do 2 of those parties a month.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I had like side hustles. Like I would, bartend here and there and
Right.
whatever. So it was perfect. So I had all this freedom. So in that 10 years, I was able to do a ton of artwork that I didn't have to worry about any influences, and I had plenty of time and flexibility.
That's great.
Yeah, it was great. But it got to the point where I got so good at the chefing, and that started ramping up to the point where it was like, I didn't want it to get bigger because I wasn't trying to be a caterer, you know what I mean? Or own a restaurant. I mean, I was just trying to make.
But you could have become the next Guy Fieri or whoever.
Well, there is a regret in there. At one point, a couple years in, Rod approached me and was like, we should open a restaurant.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it was just not like a serious, like.
But if you were that passionate about it, and
it would have been.
You could have probably taken the next step to make something like that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was really, because I wasn't like a weird chef. I was a kid, you know what I mean? That was like obviously an artist. In fact, I used to turn Rod on to like.
That's like Guy Fieri. Like I watched that guy's shows and all this shit. And I'm like, this guy seems like the kind of guy that literally, threw like, chicken on some pieces of bread with coleslaw and fucking some spice. And he's like, this is the trash thing, And it's like, and it's like diners, drive-ins, and whatever the hell the show. It's like he just makes shit up, I feel like. And then people are like, this is delicious. You know what I mean? I don't know if he went to culinary. I don't know. If he has any
probably
training.
not.
He's probably a hustler. I don't know.
Yeah. And look, I mean, your tongue will tell you if the food's good. You know what I mean? Like you don't need a high degree to tell if
especially
something
with
tastes
like
shit.
Street food and the food trucks and all this shit nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, it's look, I mean, there are certain types of cooking that require intense, and if you're going to cook in a kitchen, I remember I took one course at LACC, and it was when I was in the beginning of my culinary thing or the chefing thing, and I remember I had this maniac Irish guy who was a brilliant teacher. $10, it was like $11 a credit hour. It was such a valuable class over at LAC. They probably still teach culinary arts over there.
Oh yeah, they always have
and it's cheap as hell, and it's such a good. I mean, it's if you want to get into chefing, that's the way to do it. Not these expensive cooking schools. But I remember I told him, thinking I was gonna, some hot shot fucking get some points from him. And when I told him I was cooking because I was cooking for Rod Stewart at the time.
Yeah.
But I wanted to take I was like, I want to take a real class.
Yeah, just to kind of have it in your back pocket.
Because I learned so much at Rod's house because Rod's butler was trained at Buckingham. He was like serious motherfucker.
Wow.
And so he was the one that taught me all about the formalities of like because Rod had $1,000 Versace plates.
Yeah.
Like, you had to know how to set. I mean, I had to set the tables. It wasn't just cooking. I would set the tables, it was a ritual.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to boost that. So I went to this class trying to get some French.
And you walked in saying, "I'm Rod Stewart's cook."
Yeah, like a fucking asshole. Like I didn't.
The whole class just
deserve. Dude, I did not deserve for that to come out of my mouth. I was bullshitting everything, and it was working until I got into that culinary class.
And they're like, "How the fuck are you cooking for Rod Stewart?"
Yeah, and the teacher was like, "That's not cooking." He's like, "Cooking is when you're in a restaurant kitchen." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. They must have been like, "How the fuck are you doing? How are you cooking for Rod Stewart?"
Yeah, he hated me.
Yeah.
But he was a great teacher.
Because he wanted to be you.
No, he was old. He was an old dude. But he just was one of those old school
guys. Yeah.
He was a kitchen chef.
Right.
That's different than being a private chef.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Private chefs
Kitchen chef, you got to go by, rules and all this stuff. Yeah.
They're just you're looked at as a hack if you're like a caterer. Like nobody in a old school kitchen. If you say you're a caterer, they're just like, get the fuck out of here.
Right.
No, but anyway, it was.
It's interesting, man. Like I would have, this really, the story didn't go where I thought I was going to go, but like, it's awesome you had like such a, successful chefing career.
And
I would have, the Korean wedding, I would have like, bought a bunch of Korean food from Koreatown and been like, yeah, no, I made this. And just
repackaged
it.
Panda Express.
No, whatever the budget was, I would have went and got good stuff and then just said it was mine and lied like that way. This tastes a lot like this restaurant in on Wilshire. Oh no, it's not.
That's what I should have done. But no, and what got me to answer your question, I forgot. I lost train of thought. What happened was I really wanted to get serious about the filmmaking.
Yeah.
And the problem was, and you know this in Hollywood, this is such a fucking problem. Out here in New York, where I spent a lot of time before I moved to LA,
Right.
if you're juggling 5 things to make your art, it's charming.
Right.
In LA, it's like someone will meet you and what they like, you'll tell them the biggest thing you're doing.
Right.
But what they'll do is they'll spend the whole conversation trying to figure out what the worst thing you're doing is.
Yeah.
And then they
try to bring you down. Yeah.
Well, I think there's some utility to it because everybody's got a project. And like, if you're sitting there saying you're a producer, but you're also like, an Uber driver,
Right.
then it's like, you're probably not going to be able to help that person out.
No, you don't tell the people like what you do to make your day money. Almost,
No, but they're digging like crazy,
They're digging like
they're going to
crazy.
find out.
Why can't you do this? Oh, I got to work. Where are you working?
So I'm like at all these parties meeting all these huge people that could make a difference in my life. But the problem is they're being introduced to me as a chef.
Right.
And
it's
once
tough.
someone's
It's tough.
like,
Yeah.
you're a chef, you're never,
It's tough. It's tough. I get that because that's kind of my current world now without, going into detail, but like, yeah, it's kind of like, you do this and that's why you're here.
Yeah.
But you also do this and this, your passions or whatever. But I also feel like it's LA and a lot of people should realize, I don't know, like, especially if you're like a bartender or a cater waiter or whatever, it's like, that's not what you dreamed of doing. That's not what you went to college for. That's not,
you're
passion.
literally an actor.
Yeah, you're an
Like,
actor. You're an actor or a writer or a filmmaker or whatever. It's like I didn't come to LA to fucking cater waiter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I didn't go to 4 years of college and have a bachelor's degree to cater waiter. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like, everyone that's high up on that should realize like this person is not a career server or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what.
Not in LA.
Especially if they're artists, they should know because they were where those people we are at some point. You know what I mean? So it should be recognized. I think.
Yeah, and it just got to be like I just felt like I've been in LA for 10 years and I was just like, I've done everything I can do at this level and I left and went to grad school.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
Ohio State.
Oh, nice.
Got my MFA. Yeah, I wanted to study with Ann Hamilton,
Oh, cool.
who's a conceptual artist that I fucking love and
All right.
and it was good. I felt like I needed to get out to come back in.
So you left LA and then you came back.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Very
Yeah.
cool. Very cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of my
Interesting. There's so many
Very long story.
So many new things I learned about you though today. Yeah. All right. Well, we do have to wrap it up.
this is great.
But
This is
I feel
fun.
like we have so much more to talk about at some point. We're just
we can do it
we're
again.
just breaking the ice on this. Yeah, we'll definitely do it again. Very cool, interesting stories. Very, very good asshole stories. I think these asshole stories were better than the one that you presented on the live show that we did. So I think when we have you back on, you gotta do these two or pick one or whatever. But
definitely do the champagne
the
toast.
The dick champagne is very good. Yes, yeah. That stuff that would be a good contender. I think for Basshole.
I mean, it's so awful. It's like, again, I can't believe I did it.
All right. Well, everyone should know, again, let's remind everyone that our show, Wax Poetics and I'm a Basshole with Doug Bass, will be at the Bourbon Room Hollywood Tuesday, June 6th. The first show starts at 7 p.m. I'm a Basshole starts at 9 p.m. They can get tickets at bourbonroomhollywood.com. Also, you can find the link to the link tree on all of our social media sites at Keida Mascaro.
Comedy.
At Keida Mascaro Comedy, at Doug Bass Comedy, at Basshole Show, and at Wax Poetics. The link is on all those. Buy a ticket, guys, because again, it goes to the charities. Portion of the proceeds go to Stand Up for Pits and sharing love with other charities. We're gonna have Eliza Schlesinger, Tom Arnold, Alonzo Bowden. Those are just a couple of the comics that we have on the lineup. It's gonna be a fun night.
Stacked.
It's gonna be a fun night. Keida's gonna be hosting the first show. I'll be hosting I'm a Basshole. And yeah, it's gonna be fun. I can't wait for it to be here. You know, we've been putting so much work into it just to get it out there, and you know, everything's starting to come together.
You have the power to not have us live in tents after
Yes, no tents.
the 6th.
Yeah, you know, exactly. Because we, you know, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to live in a tent. I don't know. Actually, I don't know. There's a lot of tents that are like, if I had to live in a tent now, this podcast would be in the tent. Like some of these tents have like, you know, HD TVs set up and shit with generators and stuff.
Yeah.
So I guess we will just be doing this podcast from a tent at some point. If you don't come to the show, so come to the show.
come to the show.
Come to the show. Come support it. Come support, if anything. Come on. You guys aren't doing anything if you live in LA. Tuesday night. Come on. It's gonna be fun. Bourbon Room's a great venue too. It's very cool. If you haven't been to the Bourbon Room, at least come check out the Bourbon Room. Even if you don't like us or the comedy, just come and have a drink at the
Good food.
Bourbon Room. Good food. Yeah, it's a cool venue. It's a music event, comedy venue.
We have a red carpet too.
We have a
That's
red
worth
carpet that's
mentioning.
going to be before the show. Come get a picture taken on the red carpet. You know what? Pretend like you're someone. Pretend like you are a celebrity chef. Lie your way into the Bourbon Room. Like Keida, you know, follow Keida's footsteps. And that's a great story for the show. Because, like, you know, this town, you can just fake it till you make it, they say. You know what I mean? And then if you do start faking it, you learn. You can learn how to figure out how to do it. Always say yes. If someone says, can you do this? You say yes.
Just say yes. Figure it
yes.
out later.
Unless you don't. Unless it's like, you know, something you really don't want to do, obviously. Like a crime or something. Don't do that. But, you know, if it's a way that you think you can excel your career, propel yourself into some kind of, you know, situation, you know, why not? Take the chance. Take the gamble. Why not, you know? All right. Is there anything else you want to plug, Keida?
No, thank you so much. This was fun.
All right. All right. Well, Keida Mascaro, thanks for coming into the studio today. This has been I'm a Basshole. Make sure you follow I'm a Basshole on all the you know, podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the YouTube channel. Subscribe, guys. Just subscribe. Tell a friend. Subscribe. Leave a review. That's how this show grows. That's why we know we're doing it, you know, the right way, and we appreciate everyone listening all over the world. So remember, guys, don't be a basshole, but if you are, laugh about it. We'll see you next time. Ciao.
You've been listening to I'm a Basshole with Doug Bass. Follow us on Instagram at Basshole Show. Think you deserve to be on the show? Email us at contact@bassholeshow.com and visit our website at www.bassholeshow.com and get the latest information. Subscribe on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast fix. And don't miss the full videos on YouTube. Remember, don't be a basshole, but if you are, laugh about it. We'll see you next time.